Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Men's Life Choices, the podcast. My name is Chris Mark, and it's good to have you with me. So, just for introduction's sake, my name is Christopher Mark, and I've been wanting to do a podcast for the longest time. Life's just gotten in the way, and right now, in this day and age of 17 March 2020, world's gone a little bit crazy. I'm based in Australia. We're all freaking out a little bit. I'm stocked up in food. And I thought, you know what? I'm really big on just positive habits, whether it's daily exercise, reading, learning, uh, making sure I'm keeping up with important people in my life who inspire and motivate me to do new things and challenge myself every single day. I might as well just get in the habit of finally putting out that podcast that I've been meaning to for the longest time. So, what is Men's Life Choices? Men's Life Choices is the podcast that basically deals, from my perspective, with different issues revolving around life. And I say life in a very broad scope. Topics can change every day, but it's really just to do with what's happening in the climate and the culture, what's happening in society, what's happening, amongst our peers, and really just giving from my perspective the kind of choices and considerations men should take. And when I say men, I mean, any of you who considers yourself a man. And to be honest, I don't think there's any real age limit, uh, as long as you are of an age where you're consciously listening and consciously chosen to listen to this podcast. That there shouldn't be any limit on who can make certain decisions for their own lives and for the lives of the people that they are responsible for. So, fathers, brothers, sons, grandfathers, welcome to the podcast. And to be honest, if you are, if you don't identify as male, then welcome to the podcast as well. And I hope that you get something valuable out of this long form conversation. I might, chop up some of these clips into smaller topics and videos later on down the line, but really I just want this to be long form because I just want this to feel like a conversation and me just kind of just getting my thoughts out. So I think when it comes to life choices, we do have to start with what's going on in the world today. So I'm pretty sure I would have titled this podcast In Uncertain Times. And why I'm saying it is that if you're listening to this and the whole coronavirus thing is past, then at least you can look back and laugh. But if you're right now just in it with me, just kind of trying to get a handle on the whole situation, then you're going to have a fun time. So, I mentioned earlier the idea of habits. I think that's mad important because, look, with the possibility that we as people who are based in Australia might have to, get isolated in our homes, and we might have to get stuck in for an extended period of time. I think what's most important to all you kings and queens out there who are listening is that you make sure that your daily habits are ones that not only benefit you but are also achievable within your household. So what kind of habits am I talking about? So I mentioned earlier, daily exercise. I've been blessed with the capacity to wake up in the morning and kind of work on my own home gym. Funnily enough, I don't have a home gym because I thought that a situation like this was going to arise. Nah, I have a home gym because I was just trying to be cheap, to be honest. I was trying to budget my life. I was trying to make sure that I wasn't spending money where I didn't need to. So I rocked up at the local Kmart and just got a couple of weights. I previously got my own punching bag. I even got sort of a weighted vest, a couple of sliders, and to be honest, I'm able to get it to hammer out a half an hour to a full hour's worth of workout every morning before I start the day. And mainly I do that to to ensure that I'm awake, I'm going, I'm moving, and I don't allow my body to get into a position where it just feels lethargic and tired. And specifically speaking, I actually do sort of cardio-esque light weights in the morning. So it could be my boxing. I've been practicing kicks recently. I could be doing burpees. Normally 15 seconds active, 15 seconds rest. Look, I'm no fitness expert. Hopefully you understand that. I'm just somebody who, a friend of mine asked me the other day, he said, hey, you got a home gym and you work out every day, you must be pretty fit. And I'm like, nah, look, I don't think I can even claim that. But the one thing I can claim is that I'm consistent because I do it every single day. The amazing inspiration that is Jocko Willing says that you don't plan any rest days. You work out every day, and if a day comes where you just can't exercise, then that will be your rest day. But you don't plan for rest days. You work out every day, and I follow that. And to add on to that even more, at night before I sleep, and this I don't advise to a bunch of you who probably have issues sleeping, but before I sleep, I usually hammer out a 15-minute just heavy weights workout, and just kind of, maybe just some curls or, maybe some like shoulder raises or just something to kind of really just solidify just my strength and my mass, my ability to exert force at a higher level, and drink some protein and go to sleep. So exercise habits, reading habits. So I've got a mentor in life, and he's honestly such a great inspiration. And one of the things that he inspires me to do every single day is read. And to be honest, one of my personal AKAs is professional student because I love learning, man. I've been learning how to learn effectively. I've been learning how to love learning pretty much since I finished high school because I was a terrible student way back when. But I love learning, and so every single day I am always trying to go through a book. Look, I might use an app, like I use Blinkist, and I think Blinkist is spectacular if y'all don't know, and this isn't a sponsored podcast yet, but Blinkist is an app where all these books out there are summarized into little blinks, like little chapters, and you can read it or listen to it via sort of like an audiobook format and really just absorb and really just take in so much information. And you can listen to it at 2x speed, because I personally am a 2x speed person, both on my YouTube videos that I watch as well as the podcast I listen to. Not the music though, because you gotta get the tempo right. But I'm always just learning things every day. In fact, just the other day, I was learning about power. I was learning about the concept of working in a corporation or working in a team, and how to, trust and honor the people above you while also managing the people below you in a respectful manner. I've learned about this thing called I think it's called the Next Door Millionaire, the Everyday Millionaire. I'm forgetting right now, so much information, but just concepts of, how often people achieve certain levels of financial security by making sure that they don't actually ball out in the beginning or ball out whenever they get their pay, that they're always learning how to put percentages into savings and investing, and learning just about finance, learning about financial security. My mentor also inspires me to just listen to positive audios every day, by people who inspire me. He gives me podcasts to listen to, but to be honest, I also listen to, weirdly enough, people like Royce the 5'9". If y'all know who the rapper is, Royce the 5'9" is this fantastic rapper, one of my top 5 lyricists, to be honest. And in his latest album, The Allegory, he talks about, he starts off his album with this skit where he's speaking to, I believe, his daughter, and he's just giving her life lessons and financial lessons and sort of discipline lessons. He's saying things, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's saying things like, are you a buyer or a seller? And the child goes, a seller. Goes, if I gave you, $1 million, would you buy candy or a candy store? And the child's like, a candy store. And he goes, if I buy you something for $200 and you sell it for $500, or was it $5,000? What are you doing? The child goes, upselling. He goes, what was it? He goes, if every single one of your if every single bit of your property is thrown away, what do you have left? And what can they never take away from you? And the child's like, intellectual property. And the part that just hit me, and I'm fading, but I'm gonna come back to the main point about habits. Is Royce the 5'9" says, if I celebrate every single birthday of your life and all your Christmases by buying you gifts till you're 18, only to have you go out and have to beg someone else for a job, what have I done? And the kid just says, you failed me financially. And I was like, God golly, whew, it just gave me chills right there, you know. And I think the point that I'm trying to make is that the kind of content that, you know, kings and queens, you guys out there are getting into your system, because look, you know, we're all joking about how we can be Netflix and chilling, you know, during the times when we're sort of isolating ourselves. You know, we can be catching up on the latest movies on you know, different streaming platforms, or you know, we can finally play that game we want to play. And you know, my girlfriend's you know, looking forward to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I might not get Doom yet. I might give it a moment because I don't want to spend so much money. Games are mad expensive in Australia. It's ridiculous. You know, but alongside all these things you're enjoying, you know, your K-dramas, for example, but are you putting in positive audios into your life that not only inspire you in your finances, but really just inspires you to get through this whole situation? Because people be crazy out there, you know. Are you eating healthy? You know, I hopefully, you know, to any of you guys in America or even Australia right now, that you guys are stocking up. Hopefully you're stocking up on the good stuff. And when I say the good stuff, I mean the good for your body stuff. You know, I can imagine some of you guys are just, you know, working through your quarantine snacks. You know, whether it's I don't know, a bunch of sour worms or Kit Kats or M&Ms. Like, don't do that to yourself. You got to get some veggies, got to get some meat, got to get some rice. You know, the essentials. But you know, but do it at a respectable volume. Don't go crazy, and don't just be taking things effectively from other people who only can make it at a later time than you. You know, I've got a good friend who, because of the work hours that he and his wife go through, they basically only can make it to the markets pretty much at night. And by the time they get there, everything is gone. They haven't been able to get meat. Granted, they've kind of been a bit slow in the uptake in terms of keeping track of everything that's going on. But, you know, that's just what they have to deal with. But habits, you know, like, are you budgeting? You know, as we go ham a little bit out there, just buying, you know, food and supplies. You know, are you still being smart with your finances? Are you still making sure that you're not overspending because, you know, God willing, this whole thing blows over and a whole bunch of us just have, you know, are left with food that we just don't know what to do with, right? Are we being realistic, pragmatic, while still being cautious? That's a challenge we got to ask each other. And you know, and honestly, I think the last daily habit I want to talk about right now is just being positive. It's pretty crazy, the fact that this has to be considered a habit, but I'll tell you, kings and queens, that I don't think enough people make it a habit to be positive, right? In Stoicism, there's this concept of like how you kind of take obstacles and you adjust your perspective so you can understand what is the lesson, what can you learn from it. In Christianity, there's this whole idea that, you know, God doesn't put you through a test that you can't overcome or that you can't figure out. So what's the lesson you want to learn here? If I can just give a really easy one, kings and queens, to be honest, just learn how to cook well. You know, I know some of you out there just, you know, the extent of your culinary skills is, you know, just some instant noodles, some chicken noodles, some Indomie. Nah, fam, y'all gotta be making sure you're cooking well while you're still staying safe. And just take these opportunities just to better yourself. Learn something new every day. Learn a new recipe every day. I mean, be easy because you don't want to run out of your stocks. And for crying out loud, people, stop fighting over toilet paper. You know, as somebody who's Asian, but obviously I don't want to stereotype my people, but as somebody who is Asian, and you know, I was in the military for a hot second, you know, I learned how to use water. It ain't that hard. It ain't that tough. Personally speaking, it's not that high of a barrier to jump. Just use water, you know, like you do that anyways, right? Just calm down and just use some water, you know, move on. Right? But look, I've been ranting a little bit, but the main point once again is just your habits. What are your daily habits that you can implement if you're stuck at home? What's the kindness that you can, you know, that you can give and you can share with people in these uncertain times? You know, are you checking up on your folks? You know, my brother, God bless his heart, is so amazing and just updating my siblings and I about what's going on. You know, he's just always just sharing the news. He's always checking up on us. He's making sure, you know, I know he'll kick my ass if I if I didn't stock up in time, but I stocked up in time, so I saved myself from that beat down. Like, are you reaching out? Are you making sure, you know, the people, your peers, are okay? In fact, and I need to, and I'll be completely accountable to all of you guys. I need to do this for myself as well. Like, when you're out the street, are you just checking up on people, asking how you're going? You know, when you're doing your market run, I was at the Aldi the other day, and I was just, you know, looking at the Aldi guy just stocking up the shelves, and I just say, hey man, you doing okay? Like, you holding in there, you hanging on? And he was like, yeah, you know, and we kind of just chat a little bit. It was just a good conversation. I don't think I thanked him. Dang, I should have thanked him. But if you get a chance, just thank your local supermarket worker, because they working their butts off, you know, to kind of get yourself through this. So, you know, the main, I feel, focus of today's podcast, being my very first podcast, is just this concept of what to do when you're living in uncertain times. And I think it's very relevant regardless of what you're doing, you know, when you're listening to this podcast, what's going on in your life, because life is always uncertain. In Christianity, and I'm somebody who personally I'm Christian, though I do find a lot of my perspectives and concepts of life can also kind of fall a little bit into stoicism. So I'm going to bounce back and forth between those two examples from a very general stance. So, you know, some of you theologians out there, or some of you stoics out there might just be like, yo man, this guy's bugging, he's misquoting the Bible. It's, I was like, hey, just calm down, all right? I'm just doing my best. Okay, I don't try to speak like I'm any authority in this whole situation. I'm just speaking what I feel God puts in my mind in the moment, right? God, where was I? You know, one thing I enjoy about these long form podcasts is that, firstly, I don't need to edit much, because I trust that y'all go just listen to me go on and on. But also, y'all can just listen to just my mistakes and how genuine I am. In fact, right now, I just need to plug that phone in and get that charging. Cool. All right, then. But I don't know in the world, and I just want to encourage every single one of you to really just figure out, you know, what is the lesson here? What are you trying to do? You know, what can you do? How can you build yourself? Right now, as I speak on this podcast, to be honest, I'm applying for a few online jobs, online writing jobs, copywriting jobs, just a few things out there to really just supplement if I find myself just having to be stuck in the house. Hopefully something comes out of this podcast, and I appreciate just the collaboration of every single one of you kings and queens. But what steps are you taking? Because this whole coronavirus thing is mad, because it almost feels like, when I look at how other people are reacting to it, it feels like a lot of people are reacting as if they've lost control. And truth be told, you can't control the virus, man. You know, that's just what it is, you know. But you can control your response to it. And that's a big Stoic concept. And to be honest, a big Christian concept. That, you know, you can't control certain events that happen in your life, but you can control how you react to it, right? So once again, if you bug in and just holding toilet paper, like, what are you doing? Give it to your neighbors, right? You know, if you're being negative, if you're freaking out, once again, this, oh yeah, I remember what I was saying earlier, but once again, this whole podcast episode is just the idea of what to do in uncertain times. Is that whether you're right here, right now with me, you know, in March or even in April, and this whole thing's still going on, or whether this has come to pass, our lives are uncertain. I think by definition, you know, once again, in Christianity, we understand that His mercies are new every day. Firstly, because of the fact that He allows us to even open our eyes the next day. I don't live forgetting that, though I have goals and dreams and targets that I'm working through personally and with my mentors as well. I know that I'm not the one who decides whether, when I go to sleep at night after a good workout, do I get to wake up the next day. And when I do, I am so thankful. And the Stoics as well understand this whole concept of every single day is a gift, so just keep living as if it's a gift. So moving forward, what steps shall we take? What actions will you do? Because it's crazy out there. You know, I'm just going through the news right now. You know, and I was joking with a friend because like Tom Hanks copped the virus, and Idris Elba copped the virus, and I was like, dang, they're going after the good people, you know. And I don't say that as any value judgment of anybody, but you know, I like Tom Hanks, right? Tom Hanks is great. And I love Idris Elba. Like, they're two of the coolest people out there, and it's, I just wish them all the best and all their well. Uh, if I can just add some levity to this whole situation, though, Kings and Queens, to be honest, is that man, everyone's gonna be mad good at washing their hands after this whole thing's over. Uh, because shout out to be honest, shout out to the guy who I'm it's like there's not even one person, because it's happened so many times in my time in Australia, but the number of people I see just come out of the toilet and just go straight out without washing their hands. And like I've learned how to open certain bathroom doors with my feet, because I'm like, I ain't touching that doorknob. But shout out to all of you out there who you don't gotta admit to me. You want to write in the comments, you can do that. But shout out to all you out there who you know who never quite wash your hands right, and learning to do so right now. You gotta I mean, you can sing happy birthday, or just add a bit. You can sing, maybe sing Roddy Ricch's The Box. Come gotta do from the lap. Yeah. Anyways, sing some Cardi B. Whatever you think. Make a good time out of it. But can I just put it out there as well, is that to any of you who have people who are younger than you, either living with you or just keeping in contact with you, what's the example you're showing to them, regarding where you are in life right now, right? To for example, to some of these people out there who are fighting over toilet paper, and I see some of these videos, and some of these people fighting over toilet paper, and kids be around, and I'm like, yo, what like, we're meant to be better than this. What kind of example are we setting to the young ones? Just keep it cool, keep it calm. I was listening to a podcast about stoicism the other day, and they mentioned this whole concept of children will always follow what adults are doing, and I'm like, yeah, mad facts. If they see you wilding out, and they see you hating on each other, then like, do better. Seriously, just do better. In fact, the other day I was at the shopping mall, and this is like maybe 2 weeks ago, so before it started getting a little bit more crazy. And I remember I was probably listening to Joe Rogan, and I was just eating a snack, and I was like, I'm gonna just throw this away. So I want to go throw the wrapper away, and then some guy just rocks up, and he does an action, but I don't even see what it is. I'm just too distracted listening to my podcast. And I start walking, and I realize that this cat's just pulled up next to me, and he's saying something to me, and I'm like, yo, I'm listening to a podcast. I have no idea what you're saying. So I start trying to like pull my earphone out and turn down the podcast, and I'm like, what? And it's funny, because I think he said to me, he was like, why I spat in the trash bin? That was for you. And I was like, what? I was like, yo, you bugging? Like, what's going on? And I was like, and I said, I'm sorry. And I think he repeated that again. And I was like, right. And then he goes, remember that, so next time you see me, you remember this whole situation. And I was like, all right, I mean, look, man, I've been doing boxing for a couple of years, so I like to think I got hands, but I ain't all about, getting into altercations out in public. Heck no. So, to be honest, I did. I gave him 2 thumbs up, smiled, and went on my way, And I think that's another thing I want to talk about in these uncertain times, kings and queens, is that, just don't get in fights, man. Tensions are hiding. Everyone's kind of a little bit stressed. Everyone's kind of like freaking out a little bit, but just don't allow that to make you lesser than who you really are. And I believe in each and every one of you listening right now. I know there's greatness in each and every one of you, but man, there's a part of us, and Dan Hardy calls it the reptile brain, that is sort of the fight or flight instinct. To be honest, if you don't learn how to discipline that aspect of you, you're just gonna wild out. And people in parts of Australia just fighting over, swinging hands, throwing hands at each other. I'm like, yo, just calm down, right? And if a situation is escalating, just learn how to de-escalate that situation. You step away. You apologize. Be the first to apologize. Just don't take up an aggressive stance. Body language. You gotta be aware of every single thing. I mean, look, I'm looking at the news right now, and just some guy in Woolies, some working Woolies apparently got shanked. Come on, like, look. And the good news is that, he he has non-life-threatening injuries, and just pray for that man, because that man's working his butt off for all you people, for all of us people, and yet people just trying to have a go at them. That's just ridiculous. Kings and queens, we gotta do better. What are you being thankful for to change this whole situation? What are you learning to change the whole situation? What are your daily habits to change the situation in these uncertain times? Who do you have speaking into your life in these uncertain times? I've got mentors in my life, and we stay in the course because we know that this too shall pass. I remember watching an episode of The West Wing from years ago, one of my favorite shows, and on the president's desk, he's got a plaque that says, "Oh Lord, your sea is so vast, but my ship is so small." And from memory, I think sort of the wider concept of that quotation is that just the idea that each and every one of us, no matter how big we are in life, no matter how much we ball out in life, no matter how much we show off in life, no matter how much we feel ourselves in life, I suppose, we, in the face of this crazy world that we live in, this sea of absolute change and chaos and carnage, in which God is the only one in control. Understand how small your ship is, and understand that whether you want to believe in God or not, that humble yourself to the fact that you can't control anything. And I know for me, myself, as a Christian, I feel the advantage of knowing I have a God who can control this ocean, and who continues to control this ocean and send me in directions that benefit my life and bless my life and lead my life. And I'm just thankful for that every single day. I'm thankful for that. And I'm still charging forward. Like, I've got dreams, and like none of this, lockdown or social isolation is gonna stop me from getting what's mine, getting what's mine, and getting what I need to get for the kingdom. And look, and to be honest, we all ships sailing sometimes and on the sea, and sometimes it feels like we sail on our own. But understand that you can help other ships along the way too. So, I know a bunch of restaurants have just started to do delivery in Australia, and so support the restaurant people as well if you can. If you can do some deliveries. If you're one of those who wilds out on Uber Eats, then just tip your drivers, because they putting themselves at risk being out there, and they have to earn a living out there too. And I don't know, it's so many things. This world is crazy right now. NBA's season suspended. Man, like the whole month of March, the rest of the month of March suspended. Tyron Woodley was meant to fight. Kings and Queens are gonna find out that I have a incredibly long list of interests, and they're just gonna come out, in different ways and different formats. And look, to be honest, if there's a interest that if there's something that I mentioned that one of you guys likes, one of you guys can can admit that you share the same kind of interest, then just write it down in the comments. Like, I'd love to just expand just the people out there, expand my reach in terms of knowing who out there has the same interest as me. For example, Joe Rogan is one of my favorite podcasts, and he is huge. Yeah, I don't think I've only met one or two other people, to be honest, who've we've gotten to the point where we've realized that we both actually listen to Joe Rogan. But there's so many of y'all out there, like, it's crazy. So, hopefully, you'll reach out and really just keep that community up in uncertain times. And I've been talking for about almost half an hour, and I'll probably close in a minute or two, to be honest. And just because this is a long format, this is the first podcast, and some of y'all gonna have feedback and issues and things you want to raise, and that's totally cool. Once again, I'm gonna be making this podcast a weekly habit, really for myself, but also to keep you all updated, and just give you all topics and things to consider. Once again, Kings and Queens, if by this time next week, I get back to you and we're all in a place where we all had to really self-isolate ourselves for a longer period of time, Are your daily habits contributing to your life to better you, so that when you get out there into the world, when this whole thing's come and gone, that you will be better? Or are you gonna allow yourself to just retract, to just to fall back, to be unhealthy, to be negative, because every single one of you out there is going to be example to your peers around you. So make sure you get that right. All right, kings and queens. And to end, and this is a thing I got from one of my favorite late night shows, These Is Zamero, the concept of the AKAs. And to be honest, I took on the AKAs not just because it was funny, but I took on the AKAs because I thought it'd be almost like my way of affirming myself. And I do this every morning. So, if you kings and queens out there want to do your own AKAs, actually, no, the AKAs is from the podcast of These Is Zamero, Bodega Boys. Yeah. But yeah, no. Look, I'm gonna be ending all these podcasts in my AKAs because that's just me declaring over my life, and declaring over anybody else who just wants to just take that on their lives as well. These blessings. So here we go. I am Chris Mark, aka Big Facts, aka Silent Thunder, aka King regardless of everything, aka Never Owned, aka Legacy Long, aka Off Center taking over your sector, aka Your Mentor's Mentor, aka Progress Position, aka Success Primer according to God's timer, aka Quitting not an option, winning is the constant, aka Always failing, always learning, aka Zero losses, countless lessons, aka Professional student that's right in my online classes forever, aka Maker and Maven. Thank you so much, kings and queens. Once again, this is for the very first time Chris Mark, and this is Men's Life Choices. Y'all be blessed. I'm gonna see you soon.